Hello, my name is Lauren Ingham, and I am a Master's in Public Health student here at Liberty University. And today I'm going to be presenting to you my practicum project, which was creating a lifestyle medicine public health curriculum for Hannah's Hope Ministries in Reading, Pennsylvania. So let's get started. First of all, the project purpose, design, and goals. Overall, this was quite a large project, but broken down into a few words. The primary purpose of this project was to create an 8-session curriculum covering the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine, which would be ready to be implemented at Hannah's Hope Ministries in Reading, Pennsylvania by local medically trained healthcare providers. So why 8 sessions when there's only 6 pillars? Well, when it came down to it, talking with the project preceptor and also looking in the literature, there is quite a bit of information on 2 of the primary pillars, which is nutrition and physical activity. And so breaking those 2 sessions up into 2 groups instead of just the 1 group of sessions actually was going to be more beneficial in the long run and also alleviate some of the information overload that can happen when it's lumped into one ginormous session instead of breaking it into 2. The design of the curriculum was completed over 5 key phases, which included a needs assessment, a literature review and synthesis of evidence from that literature review, integration of theoretical and clinical frameworks, including primary frameworks from the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, as well as adult learning concepts, Bloom's taxonomy, positive psychology, etc. And then curriculum development itself, putting together all of the instructor guides, all of the in-session handouts for participants, all of the take-home handouts for the participants to take home homework information or different infographics on resources available to them. And then the last phase was pilot testing and revision. So ultimately, insight was gained from a pilot session for future success, with the primary goal of achieving all 3 short-term SMART project goals, so specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, and then being able to recommend next steps for the future, both at Hannah's Hope for the implementation of this curriculum in real time, and also going forward for similar projects down the line. So the SMART objectives that were developed were done in tandem with the practicum preceptor, as well as insight from faculty at Liberty University. And those included the first objective, which was, I'm going to read it off the side of my notes over here, which was that by the end of practicum, an 8-session lifestyle medicine curriculum tailored to single mothers experiencing homelessness or housing insecurity participating at Hannah's Hope Ministries would be developed as measured by the completion of lesson plans, practical activity outlines, and participant handouts for all 8 sessions. And then objective 2 was by the end of the practicum, implementation of at least 1 lifestyle medicine pilot session for a group of participants would be conducted, as measured by attendance records demonstrating at least 50% of session participation from participants at Hannah's Hope Ministries. And thirdly, by the end of the practicum, a plan for continued delivery of programming would be achieved, as measured by development of facilitator guides and completed program curriculum, as well as documented commitment from a qualified community stakeholder to support ongoing implementation of the program. So what was accomplished and what did we recommend? Well, ultimately, we were able to meet I was able to meet all of the SMART goals that were developed, the 3 that I just mentioned, 8 sessions with instructor guides, in-session participant handouts, and take-home handouts, which ended up being my first deliverable, were all completed. A knowledge, attitude, and practices, or CAP survey was created and utilized, which served as my second deliverable. That was utilized during the pilot session that was rolled out. And then also long-term sustainability was promoted through partnership with Tower Health. And this was primarily facilitated by the program preceptor who works at Tower Health and is actually in charge of their family medicine residency. So he was able to develop some relations with the residents there in order to make sure that this is sustainable long term. Recommendations going forward, obviously full-scale curriculum implementation would be the first recommendation. In order to see how this is going to work in real time, we really would need to implement the entire curriculum and move on past the pilot phase. And then also mixed method research on long-term health literacy and physical health impacts would be beneficial going forward to be able to tangibly notice how is this actually impacting the health and health literacy, the motivations and behaviors of the primary population that the program targets. Obviously, with any program and with any project comes unforeseen challenges and lessons learned, and that is the beauty of doing something new. Challenges that were involved in this specific project were a bit unique to the situation of the host site for the actual pilot session and then the actual rolling out of the pilot session in person. And there ended up being a number of scheduling conflicts for the pilot session, both from staff and also from participants, which led to a very small sample size. Typically, Hannah's Hope Ministries only has 6 residents at a time, but despite their 6 residents being semi-available throughout the week, we only were able to have 3 participants during this session, which unfortunately led to a clinical and statistical insignificant result from our data collected. There also was difficulty communicating consistently with the host site throughout programming, which leads to the lessons learned. Over communication is very beneficial, and that was something that towards the end of the project I was learning more of, especially when communicating with the preceptor site. And then also that statistical insignificance does not mean that research is unbeneficial or unuseful. It's something that even though my data was insignificant, I still was able to learn a lot from it, and being able to research and have the pilot session, take those results, talk about it with the preceptor, talk about it with the host site, we still gained much knowledge and learned a lot from that, which will be helpful going forward. And thirdly, informal interviewing and brainstorming with experts play a massive role in long-term viability, and this could not be more true from my personal experience. I was able to speak with some friends who are in places similar to the host site, just from their occupation, and also with other peers who have done similar research in the past. And then along with that, informal interviewing with actual participants at Hannah's Hope Ministries, and that was pivotal to the development of even the structure of the instructor guides, making sure that there was a continuous logical flow that would be easy to follow from the participants. What could have gone differently? Obviously, there's catch-22 looking back in the past, seeing what we could have done differently, what could have gone better, and that's something that is profitable to reflect on. Obviously, communication, like I mentioned, was a big hindrance to the success of specifically the pilot session. So communicating the pilot session needs very early and often would have been more helpful long term. Meeting in person instead of over the phone with a host site, I believe also would have been helpful, as there would have been more face-to-face communication, and the urgency of accomplishing the pilot session would be a bit more established. And then also facilitating the pilot session earlier on in the project, that would have been more beneficial, could have gone differently and allowed for a second pilot session if needed down the road. That was something that was discussed, but unfortunately, due to scheduling conflicts with the host site, I was unable to do a second pilot session. So if I were to go back and do this again, I would try to do the pilot session a little bit earlier to facilitate for those unforeseen challenges a bit more. Overall, I had a very positive experience with this project. I feel like I learned so much, and I'm so thankful for the opportunities that Liberty has given me specifically to put my knowledge to the hands-on test of acting out in the community, all the different aspects of curricula that we've been taught over the master's program. I learned how to format curricula. I learned how to make a website. I ended up putting all of the different project inputs into one specific website, so it's easier for instructors to facilitate. And I also was able to establish some planning with my preceptor to present my work at Tower Health, which is a very large health network where I am at. So even just hearing from my preceptor and hearing the interests that the residents at the hospital have in taking part of a curriculum like this has been very encouraging, and I'm very thankful to Liberty for allowing me to partner with them. I also wanted to mention that lifestyle of health, which is what I have named the curriculum. I do have the link on this slide, which is below the little logo that I've created here, and that you are more than welcome to access and to look through. You will find that on there I have all of the information compiled as long as all of the deliverables. Thank you very much.